The young swordsman from the Mahas sect habitually rested his elbows on the hilt of his sword and the tip of his sword scabbard as he stood under the plaque in front of the female ghost's residence. Even so, he didn't give off a feeling of exhaustion. "Lady Chu," he called softly. However, he didn't say anything else after this. The palace minister with the large lantern and the great river god of the embroidered flower river both slowed their breathing down at the same time, as if in tacit understanding. Their expressions were solemn. "What, you want to dish out punishment now?" the female ghost sneered. The young swordsman looked up at the location where Wei Jin's flying sword had pierced through the barrier. "Lady Chu, there's no need to utter such words out of anger. I have no intention of doing anything of the sort. However, I hope that you won't interfere with the children leaving this place or the blind old Taoist priest and his 2 disciples' journey up north. Regardless of whether your actions were intentional or not at that time, the Great Li Empire's Song clan has always felt gratitude toward Lady Chu. After all, your actions helped the Song clan extend the lifespan of the empire. Afterward, the Great Li Empire's Song clan also performed a deed that left them feeling guilty toward Lady Chu. Even though I didn't feel scorching rage and indignation after learning about that tragic event, as an outsider, I definitely still felt a sense of compassion." Silence. The female ghost raised a hand and twirled her hair, displaying her delicate and gentle nature as a woman. She smiled with squinted eyes and said, "And now you can explain your but." Sure enough, the young swordsman nodded and continued, "But Lady Chu's act of wantonly killing scholars has become increasingly difficult to conceal. The truth will eventually come out, and something will eventually have to be done. For example, today, I don't dare to speculate what the Emperor will think, but if I ever hear about a scholar vanishing from here again, I'll definitely pay Lady Chu a visit and personally bring you to the water dungeons. Rest assured, the Emperor values relationships, but he definitely values rules even more. Moreover, no matter how much goodwill exists between people, this is something that can eventually be exhausted." The young swordsman sighed and said with a sincere expression, "Lady Chu, regardless of whether you believe this or not, I dearly hope that such a day will never arrive." The female ghost gazed into the distance, with her fingers lightly pinching the sleeves of her wedding dress. This was a rare moment of calm for her, and she replied in a gentle voice, "Seeing how you were willing to lower your voice and speak so patiently with a young boy, I believe you." After pausing for a long moment, her expression gradually became cold. "Right now, I promise not to kill passing scholars anymore. However, I hope you understand that I might not be able to control myself in the future if I unconsciously see those traveling and poem-reciting scholars. I'm not pleading with you, and I simply want to tell you the truth. You can punish me however you see fit at that time. Whether I'm captured and tossed into a water dungeon, or whether I sever the root of the mountains and source of the rivers first. We'll rely on our own abilities, and we'll bear the consequences of our own actions. Deal," the young swordsman said with a smile. The great river god of the embroidered flower river wanted to say something, but he eventually chose to remain silent. Before leaving, the young swordsman turned to the great river god and said, "There's no need to cover up those matters anymore. You might as well tell Lady Chu the truth. After all these years, I'm sure that Lady Chu is aware of these events already. I'll take responsibility for anything that happens afterward, so you don't need to worry about the imperial court laying blame on you." The great river god cupped his fists and replied in a solemn voice, "Thank you. I'll definitely wade through fire and water for you in the future, even if it's for a private matter." The young swordsman waved his hand before soaring into the air and leaving with Palace Minister Han. Lady Chu stood there and looked at the great river god, who was deeply trusted by the imperial court of the Great Li Empire, with slight disdain on her face. She didn't invite him into her residence, nor did she shoo him away. The great river god strode onto the steps and casually sat down, saying, "I know that you've always viewed us crude martial artists with disdain, so I'll try to keep things short. Your husband didn't betray your love for him. However, the imperial court of the Great Li Empire never told you the truth because they were acting in the interests of the empire. They were afraid that you would leave this place and leave no one to suppress the remnant aura of the divine water nation that's most concentrated at Go Table Mountain. It's because of this that the imperial court purposely led you to misunderstand that scholar." The sleeves of Lady Chu's wedding dress billowed, and her eyes became bloodshot, and tears of blood trickled down her cheeks. However, her expression remained calm as she said, "Things have already come to this, yet you still want to deceive me? Do you really think I'm a 3-year-old toddler? Even though I've never set foot outside these mountains and rivers after he left, not going to Wanping County and Red Candle Town to enjoy the scenery of the mortal world, do you really think I'm deaf and unaware of what he did during his time at Lakeview Academy? Many passing scholars mentioned this, so I know exactly what he did. I know all about it. In the end, he fell in love with another woman. I'm fully aware that if he falls in love with someone, that means that he definitely loves them from the bottom of his heart. Lady Chu murmured. The great river god's expression was calm as he continued. Then you should also know that as the first scholar from the Great Li Empire entering the academy through his own abilities, he was jointly targeted and pushed to a miserable state by many people in Lakeview Academy. In the beginning, they purposely heaped him with insincere praise. Some people spent large amounts of money to hire the most famous prostitute, asking her to pretend that she admired his talent. Through this, they then spread his name and built his reputation. They also asked the great Confucians of nearby nations to purposely treat him as a dear friend despite their age difference. At the same time, they made it such that each of his calligraphy works ended up as valuable as an entire city. They employed many other tactics, each tying in with the others. In the end, he was only half a step away from becoming the first noble person from the Great Li Empire officially recognized by the Confucian schools. However, everything was turned on its head in a single night. His reputation lay in tatters after someone accused him of plagiarizing poems. The renowned prostitute also slandered him as impotent and infertile. At the same time, several famous scholars and wise Confucians jointly attacked his articles on morals and virtue, accusing him of being a hypocrite and scolding him as a dreg of Lakeview Academy. Once full of spirit and vigor, the hugely talented scholar was driven mad just like that. He went crazy for a long time, and the scholar who had hailed from impoverished beginnings became the butt of jokes for the entire Lakeview Academy. The accusation of the Great Li Empire being a nation of northern barbarians became increasingly common and convincing. However, no one expected him to suddenly come to his senses in the end. The great river god of the embroidered flower river stopped and looked at Lady Chu, who was stuck in a trance. Do you know why he came to his senses? Lady Chu slowly sat down on the steps and spread her wedding dress to the sides, causing it to look like a bright red peony in full bloom. Was it because chi refiners from the Great Li Empire helped him? The burly man chuckled, and there was a chilly look in his eyes as he bluntly replied. If the Great Li Empire really did do something, they would have chosen to kill him instead. Lady Chu grimaced before nodding and saying, he brought disrepute to the empire, so this does indeed make sense. The battle between empires causes people to resort to all conceivable means. This is only natural. The man exhaled and revealed. The scholar was only able to come to his senses because a woman whom he was familiar with arrived by his side. Lady Chu's body stiffened. The great river god slowly stood up and walked down the steps. That woman was wearing a face mask, one that looked exactly the same as Lady Chu. If I'm not wrong, then she emulated almost all of Lady Chu's voice, habits, and hobbies as well. If the scholar was targeted due to the conflict between the two empires before, then what toyed with his mind and eventually forced him to death was perhaps this battle between scholars. The great river god strode away as he revealed the final truth. After finding out the truth, the scholar decided to jump into the lake and commit suicide. It was that simple. Inferring from his conversations with his two best friends in the Imperial Academy before he departed for Lakeview Academy, we can conclude that he already knew that you weren't a human from a long time ago. It was because of this that he was determined to become a noble figure of Confucianism, a level above virtuous figures. Presumably, this would give him the confidence to ask the imperial court for a formal wedding with you once he returned to the Great Li Empire. The great river god had already left. Yet, the female ghost in the wedding dress who had committed far too many crimes to even record was still sitting on the steps, a serene expression on her face. Her movements were gentle as she fixed the folds on her sleeves, smoothing one area, folding another area. This was something that she would never grow tired of. Not long after Wei Jin left with his donkey, hurried shouts traveled over from behind Chen Ping'an and the others. These were shouts asking for their benefactors to please stop for a moment. Turning around, they saw that it was the blind old Taoist priest and his two disciples running after them. The old Taoist priest had experienced many hardships before, so he naturally knew that it was thanks to these children of unknown origin that he was able to safely make his way out of the mountain. However, who knew whether the eccentric female ghost would suddenly change her mind and decide to capture them again, offering them face-washing and heart-piercing services? According to his two disciples, there were genuinely rows of scholars, planted in the garden of the residence. Moreover, some of them had seemingly pulled themselves out of the soil after much struggle. Looking at their skeletons, however, they were indeed pitiful people who had been cut in half at the waist. The old Taoist priest had hurriedly run over with the support of the round-faced little girl, and he was oblivious to the fact that his aged Taoist robes were already filled with thorns from the two sides of the path. He appeared as disheveled as could be. Truth be told, even though the old Taoist priest's heretical lightning technique was indeed unable to suppress the female ghosts, he would still definitely be regarded as an old immortal if he ever displayed his power in the mortal world. In fact, he was indeed honored as a mighty immortal quite often during their journey to the north. Even though he had been regarded as a talentless scammer in Three Twigs Mountain, this kind of miserable encounter was ultimately a very rare occurrence. The old Taoist priest no longer tried to appear mysterious like before. He squeezed a smile and asked, "Dare I ask, where's Wind Snow Temple's great sword immortal way?" "This Taoist priest's mortal name is Suingjin, and my Tao title is Xianguzi. I've looked up to Great Sword Immortal Way for a long time, and it's truly a silver lining that I'm able to encounter you here. Being able to personally witness those three magnificent and transcendent sword strikes was truly a most divine fortune. The terrestrial sword immortal has already left to travel to the north by himself," Lin Shui said with a cold smile. "If you want to butter up to him, then you'd better hurry past us and continue up north. Perhaps you can still catch up to him." The old Taoist priest gave a forced smile and chuckled. "If we've missed the opportunity, then we've missed the opportunity. Destiny has yet to bring us together, so we can't try to hasten things through force." Wei Jin was an immortal at the upper 5 tiers, belonging to a group of powerful people who were as elusive as dragons. The old Taoist priest was fully aware of his own abilities as well. Thus, even if he truly caught up to the swordsman from Wind Snow Temple, he would most likely only annoy Wei Jin and obtain no benefits either. To mortal humans, cultivators from immortal sects were naturally very rare. However, encounters between cultivators could all be regarded as events of destiny. This was indeed true. Yet, destiny could also be divided into good destiny and bad destiny, just like karmic fate could be divided into positive fate and ill fate. The old Taoist priest had captured demons and subdued fiends throughout his journey, and this was in order to accumulate hidden virtue for himself. He had engaged in 50-odd battles, and he was definitely relying on more than just his 5th-tier Chi refiner cultivation base and heretical lightning technique to remain alive and jumping. Noticing the awkward silence, the old Taoist priest hurriedly turned left and right and said with a smile, "Little Jiao, little lame lad, hurry up and kowtow to thank your benefactors." The round-faced little girl was just about to kneel after hearing her master's command. Meanwhile, there was a dark expression on the face of the lame young boy who was holding the muddy banner. Chen Ping'an hurriedly stepped forward and lightly grabbed the skinny little girl's arms, saying with a smile, "There's no need." He then turned to the lame young boy and said, "Thank you for warning us on the mountain just then." The lame young boy was stunned, and his face surprisingly flushed slightly red in embarrassment. He mumbled and didn't know how to reply. In the end, he decided to directly turn his head around to face somewhere else. Just then, the lame young boy had faced the female ghost head-on, and even engaged in close-quarter combat with her. Even though the gulf between their power had been huge, his aura hadn't withered as a result. Yet, who would have thought that he was such a shy and easily embarrassed young boy? The old Taoist priest was delighted. After kicking the lame young boy, he purposely put on an angry expression and scolded, "Pathetic little thing." Afterward, his voice became solemn as he said, "Benefactors, if you head south after leaving this mountain, you'll reach 3 Twigs Mountain after traveling for approximately 1.5 days. However, remember not to travel through it at night. There's a powerful ghost residing in a tomb there, and it's unjustly occupying a blessed land and absorbing the ancestral blessing and spiritual energy of a family. If this weren't the case, the results of divination show that a member of the family's previous generation should have become a high-ranking official. The ghost has a relatively powerful cultivation base, and its strength can likely rival that of 4th-tier Chi refiners. Most importantly, it comes and goes like a shadow and is extremely difficult to capture. Using some kind of unknown sinister technique, it's also created a dozen or so corpse puppets. I fought against it before, and I fell at the final hurdle several times. Not only did I waste several precious lightning talismans, but I was even misunderstood as a scammer by the local residents. It was truly infuriating. Lin Shuyi's mind fluctuated slightly as he heard a secret warning from the Eam god. You're skilled in the 5 lightning righteous technique? Taoist priest, which sect are you from? He asked. The old Taoist priest felt slightly awkward. He felt like the aloof young boy was truly an amateur who had only just entered the cultivation world and thus didn't understand the rules. After all, how could one ask about someone else's background so directly? This was a big taboo regardless of whether one was a Taoist cultivator or a martial artist. However, seeing that they had experienced hardships together, and since the terrestrial sword immortal Wei Jin had helped set them free, the old Taoist priest decided not to make a fuss about this matter. After some careful thought, he replied slowly, "This is a long explanation, so please bear with my rambling, benefactors. My home country is the renowned Southern Stream nation that promotes Taoism above all else. There's a large Taoist sect near the border, and this is the leading Taoist sect of Eastern Treasured Vile Continent. This sect possesses the Limpid Pond Blessed Land, one of the 72 blessed lands. Not only is the sect leader the imperial preceptor of Southern Stream Nation, the rulers of several surrounding nations have also personally visited the sect to confer him with the title of True Lord due to his mystical Tao powers and abilities. Indeed, he's honored as the highest-ranking True Lord in 4 different nations. Thus, this esteemed Taoist immortal is widely recognized as one of the 10 greatest immortals in Eastern Treasured Vile Continent. Truth be told, if Wind Snow Temple's Wei Jin had encountered this Taoist immortal before advancing to the next tier, he would have genuinely been unable to enjoy a level footing with him." Chen Pingyan and Lin Shuyi listened intently, not willing to miss a single word. No matter how strong one was, there was always someone stronger. This was especially the case regarding the title of True Lord. After all, hadn't Lu Jimao, an outsider who had entered the small town, enjoyed the title of River-Severing True Lord? However, Li Baoping and Li Huai were far more distracted than the other two. Li Baoping occasionally glanced at the round-faced little girl who was timidly hiding to the side of the blind old Taoist priest. She appeared too shy to face others. The blind old Taoist priest was in a great mood to speak, and with little Jior's help, he unconsciously walked between Chen Pingyan and Lin Shui. Spittle flew as he continued. Forces that can be called sects are generally divided into 3 levels: ancestral sects, formal sects, and lower sections. Among them, ancestral sects are often referred to as ancestral temples. As for lower sects, these sects often have many subordinate forces. However, their naming conventions for these forces are far more relaxed as long as they don't use the word sect without authorization or use the titles of other teachings. For example, Taoist temples, Buddhist temples, and so on. These forces simply need to offer tributes to the lower sects and maintain good relationships with the mortal empires. By doing this, they can find themselves a good piece of land to cultivate in peace. They can also recruit talented disciples to pass on their teachings. I've come from Truth-Seeking Temple, which used to be one of the top-notch forces in Southern Stream Nation. However, it started to decline around 100 years ago, and when it came to my generation, almost all of my seniors rode their cranes to the west. Only a few of us remained. Moreover, none of us achieved any great success. I'm not afraid of being laughed at, and I'll admit that the 5 lightning righteous technique of Truth-Seeking Temple is indeed not the formal lightning technique. We focus on cultivating the acupoints in the liver and the gallbladder, and our knowledge is wholly focused on the character's breath and smile. This draws from the phrase "a breath forms clouds and rain, a smile summons thunder and lightning." Upon successfully learning this technique, one will be able to witness rising clouds and rain and booming thunder and lightning when using their mind's eye to observe their acupoints. After experiencing these miraculous phenomena, one will be able to achieve resonance with heaven and earth. Raising their hands and lifting their feet, one will have the ability to summon divine lightning to punish evils and sins. Of course, these heretical techniques from Truth-Seeking Temple are nothing more than ridiculous jokes compared to Great Sword Immortal Wei's powerful sword strikes that can shatter all techniques. Lin Shui frowned and asked, "The 5 organs consist of the heart, liver, spleen, lung, and kidney. Only when gathering the aura of these 5 organs, as if gathering 5 bolts of lightning, can one unleash a formal technique of the Great Tao. So why does your temple focus on cultivating the gallbladder, which is external to the 5 organs, as a method of summoning lightning?" The awkward expression on the blind old Taoist priest's face was definitely genuine this time. He heaved a heavy sigh, and there was exhaustion on his face as he replied in exasperation, "We had no option but to do this. The 5 lightning righteous technique is a secret technique of the foremost sect not taught to any external forces. To put it bluntly, even if an outsider manages to get their hands on this technique, who would dare to practice it without authorization? Truth-seeking temple focuses on cultivating the acupoints in the liver and the gallbladder. However, even the cultivation techniques regarding the liver are nothing more than shallow methods coincidentally learned by one of the previous masters of the temple. These methods are barely similar to the genuine ones in physical form, and they're completely devoid of any similarity in terms of aura. This is why there are so few formal sects and formal branches in the world, yet so many heretical forces and heretical techniques. So that's how it is, Lin Shui exclaimed in realization. The Great Tao is difficult to navigate, and this difficulty is born from the fact that there exists far more than just a few thousand muddy and winding paths. The old Taoist priest sighed with sincere emotion. It's precisely because the temple's lightning technique is a heretical one that cultivating it results in both benefit and harm. This is similar to how naturalists will be subject to formless punishment from the heavens if they reveal divine secrets. Because of this, we often choose to recruit disciples with congenital disabilities to the temple. The heavens take pity on these people, so it's less detrimental for them to frequently use the lightning technique from truth-seeking temple, which harms the essence of both the liver and the gallbladder. We don't have extravagant wishes of attaining immortality, but if their fortune is good enough, they can at least enjoy a peaceful life and a comfortable death due to old age. According to rumors, once a chi refiner from that large continent unleashes their formal lightning technique, thunder guardians and lightning goddesses, rain gods and wind deities, Taoist enforcers and wind officials, all kinds of divine beings will appear and listen to their command, helping them gather more power and momentum. Can you imagine this? After unleashing such an extravagant technique, how can the mountains and rivers not change color? The blind old Taoist priest was filled with vigor as he described these things that had absolutely nothing to do with him. He didn't appear dejected or despondent in the least. Even though cultivation was as difficult as ascending the heavens, this was perhaps one of the main reasons why people still flocked over and clamored to cultivate. After setting foot on the path of cultivation and stepping onto the bridge to longevity, and after witnessing or hearing about the stunning sceneries atop the mountains, the ability to attain immortality, the chance to learn profound techniques, the power to summon wind and rain, the strength to move mountains and flip seas, and the existence all kinds of peculiar and unimaginable sights, who would still be willing to toil away in the stifling miasma of the mortal world? The old Taoist priest sighed and explained, I've traveled all over the place with my 2 disciples for the past few years, and we've subdued demons, vanquished fiends, captured ghosts, and exorcised evil many times. Moreover, we receive our payment in silver. There's nothing we can do about this, as cultivating requires us to seek wealth. After all, constructing a bridge to immortality is the greatest money burner in the world. Even if powerful and influential clans are experiencing trouble from evil spirits, I have no background to speak of, nor do I have anyone to help recommend me. Thus, I'm naturally unable to enter their residences to help them. When wealthy local families perform the liberation rite of water and land, they'll only invite monks and Taoists that are renowned in their area. They don't trust outsiders. However, I can unleash my lightning techniques to frighten the mortals and prove that I'm not a scammer, can I? Thus, I have no option but to do what I do. If we succeed in defeating the demons, we won't necessarily earn much silver. If we fail, however, we'll definitely lose more than we earn. Cultivation is truly difficult. They chatted as they walked, and when they finally came to their senses, they realized that they had already left the cage-like ravine. Perhaps this was merely an illusion, but they felt like the surroundings had suddenly become radiant and beautiful once again. They no longer felt the dense aura of coldness and darkness from just then. After a while, Qin Ping'an discovered that the blind old Taoist priest was showing no signs of leaving even though he had already stopped talking. He continued to trek south with them. In the end, Qin Ping'an couldn't help but ask, Taoist priest, isn't your destination to the north? The old Taoist priest laughed loudly and replied, No hassle, this is nothing but a small delay. We're unable to repay you for saving our lives, so just think of this as me and my 2 disciples seeing our benefactors off. This is only a matter of walking a few more steps. Afterward, the 2 groups of travelers continued to walk south just like that. Everything was smooth sailing, and they didn't encounter any more troubles. When they eventually left the mountain range, the blind old Taoist priest finally breathed a sigh of relief. He casually found a place on the side of the path to sit down. The round-faced little girl with the nickname Gio hurriedly handed him some water. Meanwhile, the lame young boy stood behind the old Taoist priest and turned his head to gaze at the mountain range. No one knew what he was thinking about. Before parting ways, the old Taoist priest retrieved a well-kept silk scroll from his luggage and personally handed it to Chen Ping'an. This scroll is the mountain scouring album handed down in the temple. Almost 100 different types of mountain ghosts and spirits are recorded in it, and you can use this album as a reference in your future travels. This is the first time you children have embarked on a long journey to seek knowledge, and it's also inevitable that you'll cross many mountains during your travels. So, perhaps this album will be of use to you in the future. I've already memorized everything on it, so its only value to me is a sentimental one. That being the case, it's better for me to give it to you children. That way, we can make the most of this mountain scouring album and also leave everyone happy. Lin Shui tugged Chen Ping'an's sleeve. Chen Ping'an understood his intention, and he reached over to accept the mountain scouring album. However, he also retrieved the only remaining snake gall pebble on him and gifted it to the lame young boy. He simply said that it was a local specialty from his hometown that wasn't worth any money. It was simply something rare. The lame young boy initially wanted to refuse this gift, yet the blind old Taoist priest hurriedly told him to accept it. He said that this was some goodwill from their benefactor. The extremely introverted young boy had no option but to quietly accept. He wanted to speak, yet he couldn't bring himself to do so. In the end, he was still too shy to utter the words, "Thank you." Chen Ping'an smiled and said, "After passing Red Candle Town and Go Table Mountain, you'll arrive in a place called Dragon Spring County. When you get there, you can go to the Burklover shop or the pastry shop and look for a girl called Wan Xiao. If you show her this snake gall pebble, she'll understand that you're friends of mine. Perhaps she'll even help you settle down in the small town. When I arrive at the next relay station, I'll make sure to write a letter to her to explain the situation." They parted ways after this, and the blind old Taoist priest chose to take a detour rather than enter that mountain range again. He refused to set foot in that place again. They continued to head south, and Chen Ping'an turned his head to look back. He then slowly retracted his gaze. Chen Ping'an suddenly wanted to practice swordsmanship. If life were compared to a river, then these chance encounters were like passing currents that would quickly go their own ways after a brief moment of entanglement. The blind old Taoist priest with the Tao title Xian Guzi remained silent for a long time afterward. His disciple Jiao was slightly unaccustomed to this. Even though the lame young boy was unwilling to hand the snake gall pebble over, he still decided to offer it to his ill-tempered master after a moment of hesitation and conflict. The old Taoist priest accepted the smooth and exquisite pebble and carefully caressed it in his palm for a moment. After this, he surprisingly returned it to the young boy and said, "Here, keep it for yourself." The lame young boy was completely baffled as he accepted the pebble. He looked at little Jior, yet she subtly shook her head to signify that she didn't understand their master's thoughts either. "Little lame lad, this is your fated opportunity, and it's not something that your master can take away. If I truly attempted to, then that would only lead to bad consequences," the old Taoist priest explained. "Why do you think that young boy, Chen Ping'an, is going to send a letter to Dragon Spring County when he reaches the next relay station? If I were to hazard a guess, then I'd say that our stay in Dragon Spring County will be a miserable one if I'm the one to retrieve that pebble in the pastry shop or Burklover shop instead of you. Perhaps they won't try to make things difficult for us, but it will definitely become challenging for us to settle down. It will be even harder for us to find a mountain to cultivate in." "Oh," the lame young boy replied. He wasn't a cunning person, so he naturally wasn't good at understanding these matters. The blind old Taoist priest rubbed the little girl's head and said, "You two are truly blessed by good fortune." Little Jiao was more observant than her older brother, and she asked, "Master, do older sister and her companions have powerful backgrounds?" The old Taoist priest nodded and replied, "The Dragon Spring County that the young boy mentioned was formed after Jewel's small world that hung in the sky above the Great Li Empire shattered and fell to the ground. The Confucian sage Qi Jingchun overlooked this small world for 60 years. Those children with bookcases were all extremely smart, and they said that they were on a long journey to the academy in Great Sui Nation. That being the case, who can they be the disciples of?" The little girl was slightly envious as she said, "Disciples of a Confucian sage. How impressive. If this weren't the case, would Wind Snow Temple's Wei Jin have rushed over to rescue them immediately after advancing to the next tier and exiting seclusion?" The blind old Taoist priest sneered. In any case, those children were being guarded by a Yin god who could surprisingly threaten the mountain roots and river sources of that ferocious female ghost. None of those children are simple people. There was emotion in his voice as he remarked. Their future potential is limitless, absolutely limitless. Little Jior suddenly realized something in hindsight, and she asked in curiosity. Since Master already knows that they have a powerful guard, then why did you still take the unnecessary step to warn them about the powerful ghost in Three Twigs Mountain? They didn't need to worry about this to begin with. The old Taoist priest reached over to pinch her cheeks out of habit. He chuckled and said, "Foolish girl, this is called doing others a favor at no cost. We can act as good people without spending a single copper coin, so why not do it? But if they see through Master's thoughts, then won't that be making the situation worse by doing something unnecessary?" the little girl asked timidly. The old Taoist priest was rendered speechless. He shook his head and sighed. In the end, he patted little Jior's head and said, "Master needs to treat you two better in the future. During these years, I've always dreamed about striking great fortune and finding myself a supremely talented disciple from the side of the streets. I've always grumbled about you two having a bad background. However, looking back now, it seems like I'm the one who's been blind to your talents." The little girl felt slightly afraid. Her master appeared far too unfamiliar at this moment. Her face was slightly pale, and she asked, "Master, have you been possessed by a ghost? Jior can hardly recognize you." The old Taoist priest roared with laughter. He suddenly lowered his voice and said, "Little Jior, Master promised not to collect talisman spring water from you for the next 1 year before. Let's discuss this again now. Can we change it from 1 year to half a year? What do you say? Just think about it. For the past while, it seemed like the demonic forces have always been one step ahead of us. Not only was I viciously beaten by the female ghost, but the banner also lost 4 of its 8 characters. In addition to this, I also parted ways with the mountain scouring album that was passed down to me by the seniors in the temple. As my disciples, shouldn't you two show some care for your master? Shouldn't you offer me some things out of piety?" The little girl felt as if a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. This was the master that she was familiar with. Thus, she didn't hesitate at all before replying, "Then let's change it to half a year." The lame young boy carefully put the pebble away. "The pebble is already mine," he said in a gloomy voice. The blind old Taoist priest was extremely peeved, and he shouted in anger, "Dogs can't change their habit of eating shit." The little girl covered her mouth and giggled. The little lame lad also started to chuckle. The Yin god revealed his true body when they reached a place with few people. However, his body was still blurry, with black smoke lingering around his figure. Yin energy exuded from him as he apologized in a hoarse voice, saying, "I wasn't able to protect everyone, and I even allowed you to be led to the female ghost's residence. I'm sorry." Chen Ping'an was genuinely at a loss regarding how to console him. After trying to find the right words for half a day, he finally said, "It's okay as long as you try your best." There was a somber smile on the Yin god's face as he said, "No matter what, it was my fault this time. This is especially the case since it was my act of prioritizing my cultivation that caused you children to end up in such a perilous situation. I truly can't forgive myself. If anything untoward were to happen, I wouldn't have complained even if I perished together with the female ghost after obliterating the root of the mountains and source of the rivers." Li Baoping smiled and said, "When I was little, Big Brother always liked to tell me all kinds of strange things. One time, he told me about the story of a city god. He said that the method of weighing up hidden virtue is slightly different. I remember this very clearly. For a good deed that is intended, there is to be no reward. For an evil deed that is unintended, there is to be no punishment. One's ability is limited, so since you tried your best in both thought and action, there's no need for you to feel too guilty. Otherwise, how tiring would that be?" The Yin god was rendered speechless. He couldn't help but feel slightly uncomfortable about being lectured by a little girl, even though she had displayed the aura of a noble person not long ago. Li Baoping became lost in her own world again, and she was slightly annoyed as she hammered her palm with her fist. Big Brother always liked to talk about these strange and peculiar things, and I simply treated them as interesting stories at the time. If I knew better, then I would have listened to them more carefully." Chen Ping'an wanted to say something, yet he eventually chose not to. The Yin god looked at him and asked with a smile, "Can we have a private conversation?" Chen Ping'an nodded, and he told Lin Shui and the others to continue forward first. After waiting for Lin Shui and the others to walk 300 or so meters away, the Yin god finally said, It was old man Yang from the medicine shop who asked me to protect Li Huai. Chen Ping'an scratched his head and said, Oh, I initially thought you were accompanying us to protect Bao Ping or Lin Shui. Li Huai's father Li Er almost killed Song Changjing. He's very powerful, the Yin god replied with a smile. There was one time when Li Er went to old man Yang and said that his wife had been bullied by others, so he needed to find the ancestors of those people to exact revenge. Because of this, he needed to leave Jewel's small world. Old man Yang couldn't dissuade him, so he could only reluctantly agree in the end. Afterward, I heard that a powerful immortal force in Eastern Treasured Vile Continent had its ancestral hall forcefully destroyed by Li Er's fists. Moreover, he had fought his way up to the mountaintop all the way from the mountain foot. Chen Ping'an's jaw dropped when he heard this. Didn't everyone call Li Er the most good-for-nothing man on the west side of the small town? In fact, even his son Li Huai thought this. Then why doesn't Li Er tell Li Huai about this? Chen Ping'an asked with a perplexed expression. The Yin god's mood seemed to improve significantly after starting to talk about Li Er, and he replied, Li Er is someone who has a tendency to become extremely stubborn and fixated on things. Otherwise, he wouldn't have married that woman. Chen Ping'an laughed happily and remarked, Li Huai will definitely be overjoyed when he learns the truth. You're not planning to tell Li Huai about this? The Yin god asked. When we were at Pillow Relay Station, you directly revealed the truth behind Zhu Lu and her father's departure to Li Baoping, even though Aoyang encouraged you not to tell her so soon. Chen Ping'an slowly continued forward, and he replied, That was something directly related to me, so since I felt like it was correct to talk about it, I could naturally make this decision myself. However, since Li Huai's father is unwilling to tell his son about this, who am I, an outsider, to interfere? Would I tell Li Huai the truth just to make him a little bit happier? This isn't right. The Yin god nodded in understanding. He recalled the time when Li Er had viewed this young boy from Clay Vase Alley in higher regard than those other supreme prodigies. In fact, Li Er had even been willing to break the rules as he attempted to give the golden carp and the Dragon King basket to Chen Ping'an. Chen Ping'an suddenly stopped in his tracks, asking, My eyesight is very good, and I was also worried that you were a bad person at the start. So I vividly remember that during our first encounter, Senior Yin God looked at me before looking at Li Huai. Why was that? Was it simply unintentional or, if you don't want to answer this, then just pretend that I didn't ask. If the Yin God were still a living person, then he would definitely be parched and feel like he was sitting on a bed of needles at this moment. Back at that time, how could he have imagined that Chen Ping'an was such a perceptive person? His gaze had only rested on the young boy for a split second, and it could be said that he had concealed it very well. However, the Yin god quickly accepted this when he thought about Chen Ping'an's performance throughout this journey. It was most likely because of this that Chen Ping'an was able to win the trust of his companions. Even though Lin Shui had already reached the middle 5 tiers and become a genuine immortal, Li Baoping still wouldn't listen to him, and neither would Li Huai. As for the Yin god, he would most likely be no exception either. In his eyes, Lin Shui was ultimately nothing more than an extremely intelligent and talented junior. This was a very strange feeling. It was as if Chen Ping'an possessed an aura that could cause others to feel at ease with the situation, and unquestioning of his position. If he labeled something as incorrect, then his companions would also feel that the matter was incorrect. If he said that something could be done, then his companions would also feel that the task could be done. However, this wasn't the strangest part. What was even stranger than this was the fact that Chen Ping'an had never tried to deliberately flaunt any of his skills. Quite the contrary, in fact. He would humbly learn characters and how to read from the little girl who called him junior uncle, and he had never treated Li Huai as an immature little child either. He was also willing to chat with Lin Shui and listen to his stories about the outside world. The Yin god smiled and replied, I won't answer this question for the moment. However, you can rest assured that I won't try to harm you. Chen Ping'an jogged forward, not forgetting to turn around and say with a smile, I wouldn't have asked this question if I didn't trust you. The Yin god slowly concealed his figure, sighing as he did so. Accompanying these children on a long journey was truly taxing on the mind. In reality, the ill-natured maidservant Zhu Lu would have been considered a fairly impressive prodigy if she were placed in some ordinary force in a mortal empire. However, it was a shame that she was far inferior to everyone else in this group of children. In fact, she was inferior in all facets. During their journey south, they had first passed Dragon Whisker Creek and the Iron Talisman River before passing the Embroidered Flower River and the rushing Tranquil River. They had passed more waterways than they had mountains. For the next 1.5 days, however, it was as if they had used up all of their waterway luck. They could barely find a single stream in the mountains. They did indeed come across some water, yet these were all puddles of stagnant water that were undrinkable. They passed many sickly willow seedlings that were neither tall nor luxuriant. Instead, many of them were crooked and lying on their sides. Insects buzzed around, and the environment was as uncomfortable as could be. Li Huai was a little scared. This was because the blind old Taoist priest had made an inauspicious remark about them needing to pass through a ghost-ridden area called Three Twigs Mountain. Not only was there a malicious ghost here, but there were even corpses acting as its subordinates. Li Huai couldn't help but feel depressed when he thought about this. His painted puppet and clay statues were far too small, so it was very likely that their fighting abilities would be insufficient even if they truly came to life. Moreover, the 5 clay statues that Wei Jin had given him wouldn't come to life no matter how he warmed them up in his hands. That sword immortal in white wasn't a liar, was he? He wasn't willing to part with a genuine treasure, yet he didn't want to affect his image as a sword immortal, so he had purposely told him a big lie. Dusk fell, and Chen Ping'an stopped to craft a makeshift stove to cook dinner. Li Huai ran off to collect a large bundle of dry sticks. Afterward, he squatted down next to Chen Ping'an and complained, "Chen Ping'an, I feel like Wind Snow Temple's Wei Jin isn't as good as Aoliang." Chen Ping'an ignored him. Li Huai ran back to his bookcase and retrieved the painted puppet and a clay statue. He then used the painted puppet to viciously bully the sword-wielding clay statue. After a while, he placed the clay statue on its knees and pretended that it was begging for forgiveness. At the same time, he shouted, "Oh, mighty female ghost, please spare me! I, Wei Jin, understand my sins." Chen Ping'an didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the end, he could only explain, "Wei Jin is a very good person." Li Huai rolled his eyes, and his hands continued to chaotically move around as he used the painted puppet to ravage the clay statue. Lin Shuyi was sitting on a nearby rock and flipping through the mountain scouring album. He looked up at Chen Ping'an and said, "If my observations weren't wrong, then it seemed like Wei Jin was somewhat looking down on you. Or more precisely, he was least optimistic about your abilities." Li Baoping, who was quietly tidying her small bookcase, was infuriated upon hearing this. "For real?" Lying on the floor with his bottom raised, Chen Ping'an slowly kindled a flame in the pile of firewood. Leaning back into a squat and preparing to cook dinner, he asked, "Does him looking down on me change the fact that he's a good person?" Li Huai was stunned. "Chen Ping'an, what are you thinking? How can someone who looks down on me be a very good person? They can only be a not so good person." Chen Ping'an's movements were methodical as he started to busy himself with cooking. "Wei Jin is such a powerful person, and he's even referred to as a terrestrial sword immortal by others. Yet, his tone was still gentle and polite when he spoke to us, and he was even willing to explain the situation and the facts to us children. Do you think all immortals are like this? No, they're not. Before leaving the small town, I came across an immortal who would kill others on a whim, and who would only listen to their own reasoning. In fact, I came across more than just one." Chen Ping'an briefly mentioned those deadly encounters, yet he wasn't willing to expand on them any further. "If you don't want to be looked down on by others, then you can only rely on yourself. If you're the best at planting crops, the best at firing pottery, the strongest when chopping firewood, or courageous enough to lead the charge when competing for water with the other allies, then you naturally won't be looked down on by others." Chen Ping'an glanced at the others and continued, "This was the case in our hometown. However, things will be slightly different when we reach the academy in Great Sui Nation. If Li Baoping is good at studying, and if Lin Shuyi becomes an impressive cultivator at a young age, then you two naturally be held in high regard by the others. As for you, Li Huai, you're still little, so you don't need to worry about this yet." "Chen Ping'an, you might not be worried, but I am," Li Huai exclaimed anxiously. "Can you wake up earlier in the morning to practice walking meditation and fist techniques with me?" Chen Ping'an asked. "Of course not," Li Huai replied without any hesitation. "Then I'll teach you standing meditation?" Chen Ping'an offered. There was a look of disgust on Li Huai's face as he replied, "Why do I have to learn that? I'm still so little." "Oh, so you know that you're still little now? Then why were you so worried just then?" Chen Ping'an asked in exasperation. Li Huai was completely dumbstruck. After mulling over this for a long time, he was still unable to offer any response. In the end, when they were all sitting around to eat dinner, Li Huai used his chopsticks to grab a pickle and down a large mouthful of rice before asking, Say, is there a cultivation shortcut that can allow one to achieve success overnight? For example, a method where I can cultivate today and become an immortal tomorrow? Aoyang said that there isn't. If I knew earlier, I should have asked Wei Jin about this as well. What if Aoyang doesn't have such a method but Wei Jin does? Then I would have struck gold. For the remainder of our journey, I could have traveled atop a flying sword, and whoosh! I would fly here and there, even faster than Chen Pingin's walking meditation. I would have been like a gust of wind. You guys would have only been able to trail behind me and eat my dust. Who's going to eat dust? Li Baoping asked with a stern expression. Li Huai gulped and looked at Lin Shui. He then silently turned his head to look at Chen Pingin. In the end, Li Huai felt a little downcast. However, a brilliant idea suddenly sprang into his mind, and he hurriedly picked his painted puppet up from the ground. She's going to eat it! She's my most powerful general right now! After all, she's the biggest, the most beautiful, the most experienced, and also the most decorated. She's accompanied me on my expedition for the longest time. Those 5 dirty little clay statues can only rank 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th. Then what about the little creatures in Severed Water Cliff? Lin Shui asked with a smile. Them? I don't like them very much, Li Huai replied with a shake of his head. It's because you don't like to read, isn't it? That's why you're unwilling to see them. Because you need to open the book first, Li Baoping said, revealing the true reason. Li Huai pretended that he couldn't hear her. Chen Pingin looked up and glanced at the slightly taller Three Twigs Mountain in the distance. What does everyone want to buy after we pass Three Twigs Mountain and arrive at the next town? He asked. Junior uncle, I want to buy some miscellaneous books, Li Baoping answered in excitement. Mr. Qi said that apart from Confucianism, the 100 schools of thought also have their own classics that are worth a read. Mr. Qi said that rocks from other mountains can also be carved into jade. Chen Pingin, if it's possible, I want to buy a go set. The cheapest one will do. What about you, Li Huai? If I don't buy anything, can you give me the money instead? I want to save some money. Mother taught me that having some money in the pockets will keep one calm in the face of all kinds of situations. What do you think? Chen Pingin replied. Li Huai chuckled and said, I was just trying my luck. After all, what if you suddenly discovered your conscience? Chen Pingin chuckled coldly in reply. Li Huai's expression instantly froze, and he hurriedly changed the topic and said, Didn't that old Taoist priest tell us not to enter Three Twigs Mountain during the night? Lin Shui shook his head and explained, Signorine God, Chen Pingin, and I have already discussed this before. If that malicious ghost comes out to attack us when we're traveling through Three Twigs Mountain at night, then we'll simply face it head-on and suppress it. Signorine God will stay hidden first, and he'll let me try to defeat the malicious ghost using my talismans and lightning technique. This is in order to give me some training. If the malicious ghost stays in hiding, however, then we'll just let it be. We'll continue on our way. Night fell, and the 4 children slowly ascended the mountain. Three Twigs Mountain wasn't tall, yet its slope was gentle and very long. Chen Pingin purposely took a detour as well, since there were large expanses of unmarked graves in the mountain. Of course, there existed even more marked graves that were frequented and cleaned by their descendants. There were tombstones decorating these graves, and these tombstones were also engraved with words. Shreds of paper money that weren't fully burned lay scattered across these graves. They traversed Three Twigs Mountain in under 2 hours. Apart from the night breeze being slightly cold, they didn't encounter any other strange matter. Lin Shui felt slightly disappointed. However, he wouldn't try to forcefully seek a fight either. Afterward, their journey to Yefu Pass on the border of the Great Li Empire became even more smooth sailing. When passing through the market of a small town, Li Baoping bought 5 or 6 miscellaneous books, some of them being travel journals, some of them being Buddhist or Taoist classics, and some of them being the notes of literati. Lin Shui bought a go set, and after teaching Chen Pingin the rules, they would frequently play with each other whenever they had free time. This was because Li Baoping was too impatient and always wanted to play 7 or 8 pieces in a single turn. Not only that, but she also complained that Lin Shui was too slow. As for Li Huai, he was simply too lazy to use his brain. Surprisingly, however, it was the Yin god who played Go with Lin Shui the most. The memory of spending almost 10 taels of silver to buy a crappy book in Red Candle Town was most likely still fresh in Li Huai's memory. Thus, he chose to not buy anything this time. Even though Chen Pingin wanted to practice swordsmanship, he didn't genuinely begin to do so apart from occasionally retrieving the locust wood sword from his basket. In his view, the most important thing right now was to hone his fist technique. Only after he felt like he had the spare attention would he start to practice the sword. Regarding the chi channeling technique that Alyang had taught him, Qin Ping'an had only managed to reach the halfway mark. He was unable to make it past the 6th stop no matter what. Even though he couldn't practice the sword for the moment, Alyang had told him that the 18 stops was a technique created through much hardship by countless swordsmen. Diligently practicing the 18 stops was equivalent to laying a solid foundation for his sword practice in the future. Whenever he thought about this, Qin Ping'an would feel reinvigorated and filled with enthusiasm. Whenever he had free time, whether he was on a large branch atop a mountain or on the edge of a cliff beside the water, the young boy would form hand seals and perform standing meditation by himself, silently cultivating as he gazed at the mountains and waters. Where there were mountains, he would gaze at mountains. Where there was water, he would listen to water. Wu Yuan left the Li clan's manor on Fortune Street with one of his trusted scholarly secretaries. As he was walking along the street in his official attire, he suddenly stopped in his tracks, then balanced himself on one foot as he removed one of his boots to pour out the sand inside. The scholarly secretary was already accustomed to seeing this. However, Fortune Street was far more lively and bustling than it had been in the past, so the young scholarly secretary felt the need to conceal Wu Yuan as much as possible so that he didn't make a fool out of himself in front of the surrounding bystanders. At the same time, he said in a quiet voice, Li Hong had already told us that he was willing to set an example by making a compromise when it comes to the matter regarding the immortal tomb, so why has he suddenly changed his mind? Is he not concerned that he'll tarnish his image and be regarded as a fickle and unreliable man in your eyes? There was a weary look on Wu Yuan's face as he sighed. I'm assuming it's because Li Hong's second son, Li Baozhen, has managed to make a name for himself in the capital. Perhaps he's already found a powerful backer and sent a letter back to inform his clansmen of this, telling Li Hong not to make any rash decisions or something like that. Alternatively, it could be that reclusive eldest son of Li Hong's who advised him that it's best to stay put and observe for now. It's hard to say what led to this decision. In any case, we're the ones who have to suffer the consequences. All of our original arrangements were made on the basis that my teacher would. Let's not talk about this anymore. Where there's a will, there's a way. Let's go and have a couple of flagons of spring peach blossom wine. I'll treat you, but I don't have any money on me, so you'll have to pay this time. I'll pay you back later. The scholarly secretary was already accustomed to this type of shameless gesture from Wu Yuan, and a curious look appeared on his face as he remarked, There's a story circulating around the town, stating that a fortune teller had once foretold that the 2 sons and the daughter of the Li clan on Fortune Street were destined for great things. Isn't that right? Wu Yuan rubbed his own thin and pale face as he smiled and replied, You believe in stuff like that? Everyone who wants to make a name for themselves in the capital city of our great Li Empire has some insight when it comes to establishing connections and forging reputations, particularly those who come from humble upbringings. Even so-called wealthy and powerful clans aren't guaranteed to do well. Your Fu clan has always been renowned for its tremendous wealth. Outsiders may be unaware of whether that reputation is deserved or not, but I'm sure you're well aware of the truth. Isn't that right, Fu Yu? Fu Yu was quite disgruntled to hear this, and he protested. Why are you bringing up my clan all of a sudden? Wu Yuan's mood was buoyed by Fu Yu's indignant display, and he burst into laughter as he patted Fu Yu on the shoulder as he said, We're both in the same boat, each of us is just as unsightly as the other. Fu Yu also burst into laughter upon hearing this. Isn't it much better to say that we share the same ambitions and outlook on life? That's rather pretentious, is it not? Wu Yuan chuckled. It's really tiring having to keep up the facade of a gentleman. Instead, it's much easier to embrace being a scoundrel. You've really let yourself go, haven't you? Fu Yu sighed with a wistful shake of his head. Wu Yuan also heaved a forlorn sigh, then changed the subject as he mused. I miss my wife. Fu Yu smiled as he said, Isn't it about time that we lifted the restrictions on brothels in our Dragon Spring County? Fine wine is decent on its own, but its flavor is ultimately lacking with no beautiful women in accompaniment. Wu Yuan nodded in response as he replied with a serious expression. There are some women among the prisoners of the Lu Empire that would be perfect for the job. As opposed to forcing them to work themselves to death in the forests and mountains, we may as well give them another choice. Of course, we can't force them into this, so the decision will ultimately be up to them. Fu Yu, from now on, you don't have to accompany me on these trips and be shunned by the town's residents anymore. Instead, I'm going to put you in charge of overseeing this matter. Fu Yu was very much taken aback to hear this. He had only brought up this subject as a joke, and a perplexed look appeared on his face as he asked, "Are you being serious right now?" Wu Yuan adjusted his collar slightly, then smiled as he replied, "Why would you think I'm not being serious about this? With all those mountains being developed, the majority of their future residents are going to be immortals. How are we going to keep those esteemed immortals around and convince them to spend money in our town? Are you going to be able to do that, or do you think I'm up to the task? I'm just an insignificant little governor who's about to be stripped of his title of Kiln Supervision Official. I've heard from my teacher that those immortals are generally not attracted to mortal women for their looks alone because female cultivators possess far superior physical bodies to mortal women. Hence, the only thing about mortal women that could present some measure of allure to immortals would be their status. For example, the princess of a fallen empire or the young mistress of a powerful clan that had fallen from grace would be like rare delicacies in the eyes of immortals, and those prisoners of the Lu Empire are not lacking in this area." An indignant look appeared on Fu Yu's face as he grumbled, "Why has the Imperial Court decided to assign a new kiln supervision official at a time like this? It's clear that you're being screwed over. During the past 2 months, you've explored every single one of the 60 or so mountains on foot and spent countless time and effort negotiating with those sly old foxes. From the construction of the county office and the city god pavilion to the site selection of the Wenchang pavilion and the martial sage temple, from the preparation of the construction materials to the placement of those prisoners from the Lu Empire, you've overseen every single task on your own, no matter how trivial, and there hasn't been a single day when you've gotten over 6 hours of sleep. Yet now, those old farts in the Imperial Court are condemning you for failing in your duties? Perhaps someone from the Imperial Court has been manipulating the 4 surnames and 10 clans all along, instructing them to pose obstacles for you at every turn. I bet they're trying to ensure that your political career never makes it out of Dragon Spring County." Following his indignant tirade, Fu Yu seemed to have realized that this was a rather unrealistic conspiracy theory, and he grumbled, "At the very least, they're trying to ensure that you won't be in charge of any of the ministries before you turn 50. All you'll be able to do is slowly progress up the ranks without receiving just reward for your efforts." Wu Yuan opened his mouth as if to say something, but remained silent in the end. All of a sudden, Fu Yu burst into laughter, and Wu Yuan turned to him as he asked, "What's gotten you so happy all of a sudden?" Fu Yu replied, "Dragon Spring County is a small place, but compared with the luxurious capital, I much prefer living here. There's fine wine, pastries, and meat buns every morning. If I want to eat anything, I can just come here on foot to purchase it, and the return trip would only take me an hour at most. Sometimes, when I'm in a bad mood, I would go to the wine shop and order half a liter of wine, then sit on my own in peace and quiet for an hour or two without anyone approaching me or calling out to me. If I'm in the mood for it, I can order a small bowl of braised meat and a dish of pickled vegetables to help the wine go down. I really want to keep spending my days like this, and that gives me even more incentive to do well here, even if there are many hardships ahead." Wu Yuan nodded in response. "If all we did was laze around and rely on others to carry us up the ranks, then what's the point in serving as officials? We have to put our foot down and actually do something to benefit the people. I have to say that you're better than me in this regard. I came from an impoverished background, so I know how difficult things are for the general public. In contrast, you're a young master of the esteemed Fu clan, so it's quite surprising to me that you can think this way." The two of them walked along beside one another, and Fu Yu sighed. "Therein lies the problem. You can do things for the sake of the people, but the people won't necessarily be grateful to you. In the history books, there is certainly no lack of examples of capable officials diligently working for the sake of the people, only to be denounced and stripped of their official titles in disgrace. Over the past few centuries, there have been some cases of such officials being posthumously lauded for their deeds, but those examples are far and few in between, and what does it matter anyway when they're already dead? That's not the right way to think about it." Wu Yuan disagreed with a shake of his head. "If you set out to do something, then that should be your focus. Your purpose should be to accomplish something that you can feel proud of. As for whether the people will be grateful to you and whether the Imperial Court will approve of your deeds, that's not for you to think about now. Overthinking such matters will only result in disillusionment, and you could easily find yourself losing your will and drive before you've even done anything. As Confucians, we are not like Taoists and Buddhists, who are always seeking out the limits of the teachings that they believe in." Fu Yu heaved a faint sigh upon hearing this. Meanwhile, Wu Yuan continued, almost as if he were speaking to himself. Among the three teachings, Taoism has a focus on peace and tranquility. It is a teaching that revolves solely around oneself. Even if the heavens fall and the earth shatters, as long as one attains immortality for oneself, that is enough. They do not place any importance on past and future lives, instead focusing on the life that they are presently living, because they need their current body to complete the journey to immortality. In contrast, Buddhism is split up into Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism. Theravada Buddhism is similar to Taoism, while Mahayana Buddhism tells its believers that all pain and suffering in this life will lead to blessings in the next life, thereby instilling within its believers immense hope for the future. As for Confucianism, it is the most closely intertwined with the secular world out of the three teachings. Furthermore, it raises a predicament where the more well-learned and advanced one's cultivation base is, the more cautious and restricted they become, as they always feel like their words and actions could break certain rules or encroach upon certain boundaries. For example, my teacher's doctrine is that practical ability should be valued above theoretical knowledge, and his objective is to weed out the Confucians who have nothing but empty knowledge. Unfortunately, all those who propose radical new ideas are bound to be ostracized and make many enemies. Wu Yuan shook his head as he continued. My teacher had the right idea, but anything will inevitably go sour when taken to the extreme. Furthermore, there is a sense of inertia present in everyone. There's a very good chance that during extended periods of peace, say 500 or even 1,000 years, scholars will still be reading the same books that contain the teachings of sagely figures, but they'd be doing so in a conceited and sanctimonious manner, rather than actually trying to better themselves. At the moment, this is not a problem. The three eternal pursuits of Confucianism are to establish a strong moral compass, make contributions to society and empire, and ensure that one's words and writings are worthy of being passed down to future generations. At the moment, Confucians are still striving for the three pursuits in equal measure, but if my teacher's doctrine were to be implemented, then the emphasis would gradually be skewed solely to the contributions one can make to society and empire. If such a mindset were to set in, then scholars would renounce the establishment of a strong moral compass and the pursuit of theoretical knowledge. That would truly be a terrifying world to live in. Fu Yu was stunned to hear this, and an alarmed look appeared on his face as he grabbed firmly onto Wu Yuan's arm, then said in an urgent voice, Wu Yuan, you absolutely cannot say this to your teacher no matter what. You're not a cultivator, so you don't know how cruel and brutal the pursuit of the great Tao can be. Any careless words or actions could lead to your demise. Wu Yuan patted the back of Fu Yu's hand as he replied with a wry smile. Of course I don't have the courage to say this to my teacher. Furthermore, given my teacher's immense intelligence and wealth of knowledge, perhaps I have simply failed to comprehend the full breadth and nuance of his doctrine. I'm sure my teacher would scoff at my ideas. Fu Yu released Wu Yuan's arm, then cautioned once again. Make sure you don't ever let these ideas slip out. I don't want to see you follow in Song Yuzhang's footsteps and… Fu Yu's voice trailed off there as he knew that it would be unwise to speak excessively on these topics. Wu Yuan changed the subject as he said, Fu Yu, if I ever stray down the wrong path, you have to remember to rebuke me and denounce me to my face, no matter how lofty my status is at that time. You have to make me see reason and guide me back to the right path. Rest assured, if that time comes and my words can't get through to you, then you can expect a punch from me, Mr. Wu. A minister of one of the 6 ministries is only a second-rank official. That's too paltry a post for me to settle for. Not at all. Think about it. Once our greatly empire takes over the entire eastern treasured vile continent, would you still think the minister of one of the 6 ministries is too paltry a position? In my opinion, that's already a very lofty goal to aim for. Let me make this clear right now. All I'm good at is coming up with some ideas here and there, and I'm not a very adaptable person, so I'm going to follow you until the day that I die. If you become a minister in the future, how about you make me your right-hand minister? The pair of scholars continued to jokingly discuss this subject as they returned to the county office. Inside the Yuan clan's manor, an azure-robed scholar picked up his book as he smiled and murmured to himself, Wu Yuan, your thought process is correct when it comes to the excessive emphasis on practical contributions that could result from my doctrine, but it's also true that you have indeed failed to comprehend the full depth of my doctrine.